Shalom, everybody from Israel. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, where you join me and our awesome Israel Brief community from all around the world, where we take a look at those top stories making headlines in Israel. And quite rare at the moment, we have a heat wave, right kind of bang smack in the middle of the end of winter. But hey, the weather is as unpredictable as the region is. Now, just a reminder before we take a look at those headlines, tomorrow is Thursday, which means your mentions and your morons. So get those nominations through to me so I can read them out tomorrow. And also just a reminder that if you do have any questions that you would like answered, please pop them in the comment section below or be in touch with us via our website. Now, just a reminder that the Israel Brief brings you the headlines from Israel. We are non-partisan, so we don't support any particular party or any particular candidate, whether it's here or the US or anywhere else in the world. Our aim is to bring you the news that's making the top story in Israel. So with that said, let's take a look at those headlines dominating. Today is day 523 since the atrocities of the 7th of October. We still have 59 hostages being held captive, and as my shirt says in Hebrew, it says, "Machzirim etchem habayta achshav," bring them all home now. So let's take a look at those top stories, and we begin with a question. Is Lebanon possibly the next country to normalize ties with Israel? Will they join the Abraham Accords? Now, according to an Israeli political source speaking today to the Times of Israel, he says that Israel is interested in normalizing ties with Lebanon. Now, at the moment, the two countries don't recognize each other, and this idea from Israel is also backed by the Americans, who say that because of the changes that have happened in Lebanon, there is now a president of the country, President Aoun. He comes from a military background. We know that Israel gave Hezbollah a massive smack since before the ceasefire towards the end of last year, and that there have been changes on the ground. Now, yesterday there was a military-to-military meeting conducted by members of the IDF and the Lebanese military to iron out some border issues, and Israel, in a show of good faith, released 5 Lebanese prisoners. So the United States has said that they will start to establish working groups, but I think this would be quite extraordinary and a welcome addition to the Abrahamic circle of peace. Now let's turn to Syria, and Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz has said that the IDF will stay in their positions in Syria indefinitely. This follows a lot of concern that Israel has watching the events on the ground following the slaughter of over 1,000 minority community members, Kurds, Christians, Alawites. The Alawite community has taken the hardest hits and includes the execution of women and children and the parading of women naked through the streets. What astounds me is the absolute silence of the campuses, the streets of major cities, the United Nations, and of course the global media. They are so fixated on events happening here in Israel at the expense of real genocides and ethnic cleansing in other parts of the world. Now, what is interesting is the artist formerly known as al-Julani, who is now known as Ahmed al-Shara. He is the rebel leader that overthrew Bashar al-Assad. He is the one that claims to be a reformed member of Al-Qaeda. I don't know, can one really reform as a jihadi? He says that Syria will respond to Israel's attacks with wisdom, and he says that he doesn't want any kind of hostilities or tension with anyone in the region. Israel, of course, is watching very, very carefully to events and making sure to protect our territory with integrity. We now go to another front, and the Iranian-backed Houthis have threatened to resume attacks on Israeli vessels following the end of their deadline that they set on Friday to resume humanitarian aid to Gaza. If you have been following, you will have known that Israel has stopped providing humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. This is well within our expectations as part of the Geneva Convention. And the reason that Israel has stopped this because there is a lot of aid in the Gaza Strip, and the onus is on Hamas not to use that aid for military means. On Friday, the Houthi rebel leader said that if humanitarian aid did not resume within 4 days, they will resume attacks on Israeli vessels. And finally, Hamas sent a 4-year-old to an IDF post in the Gaza Strip. The IDF returned the child in coordination with international organizations. Now, taking to X, the IDF tweeted out that the child said that he was sent by Hamas and accused Hamas of not hesitating to exploit children and civilians to push their terrorist agenda. So those are our top stories making headlines. Let's take the question from the audience, and it comes from Charmaine, who says, if Bibi steps down, who would take his place? Well, of course, that is a very good question. I think that if the Prime Minister did resign, at the moment polls have it at about 60% of Israelis are calling on the Prime Minister to resign and accept responsibility that the October the 7th atrocities happened on his watch, and to push for a state inquiry. I think Israel would go to elections, and it's very interesting to see. It's a very non-binary, very dynamic political situation in Israel. At the moment, the polls support Naftali Bennett should he re-enter the political sphere, and also shows support for opposition leaders Lapid and Gantz. And, these polls go up and down depending on the trajectory of the war and decisions that are made. But I think that it's anyone's prediction who would replace him should the Prime Minister resign, not only as Prime Minister, but resign from politics as well. This is why succession planning in any political party is an imperative. So those are our top stories, guys. Don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook page or community is at LOTLSITE, so that's at Lottle Site. If you see us, pop us a like, a share, a subscribe. We are on YouTube right here at the Israel Brief. If you like our content, please hit that red subscribe button. Let's get Israel's side of the story out to as many people as possible. We are on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, X at Lay of the Land 5. And guys, I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day. God bless you all, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.